Hello Gemini, and welcome to your monthly reading. So this is for Gemini rising or sun signs for the month of May 2023. I'm feeling this top card here. Let's go with that. Interesting, because we're about to have a south node eclipse, and here we have the north node showing up for you. Super interesting. Okay. So am I feeling this deck for the Geminis? Am I? Actually, feeling this deck here. All right. So Geminis, we're going to take a look at the progression of the month for the beginning, middle, and end of the month. And I will pull all of those cards first, and then we will get into them individually. So I am going to mention a couple of things because I like to give you guys a heads up about what's happening astrologically. So don't worry, I'm not going to go into like too much, just a couple of minor, well, not minor, but a couple of things really quickly is what I mean to say. So beginning, middle, and let's take a look at the end of the month. So obviously this is a collective reading for sun or rising Geminis. So if this message resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, and this is your sun sign, go watch your rising sign, or vice versa, right? So if you want to get really specific, I would say, you know, go ahead and book a reading with me on a one-to-one so that you have really clear, specific information for yourself. So, and let's pull one more card. Okay, so here we go. Oh, I love that. I love that you guys got the star. That's awesome. Okay, make sure that these are all in frame. Perfect, Gemini. So let's mention just a couple of things. First of all, we're starting out the beginning of the month on May 1st with Pluto going retrograde back into Capricorn. So, you know, it does this dance whenever it moves. Like we had this big talk about how it moved into Aquarius, and that was a momentous and big occasion. And also it does this little dance, and it will be firmly in Aquarius in the beginning of 2024, February, I forget which date. So just know that whatever themes with Pluto and Capricorn that were coming up for your life, it was about a 15-year span, right? Just like go maybe do some Googling, because I'm not going to go into this video to make it too long, but you know, go look up what does Pluto in Capricorn mean? What are the themes that come up with that, to give you a sense of like where you can look at it. Obviously you want to see like where that's happening in your own chart to get really specific. I will be doing chart readings on the horizon probably in the next couple of months. So that's one thing, is just to note, you might feel that shift, although you might see it more collectively, like on the world stage versus feeling it like personally on a personal level. So it just depends. The really big one that I want to take a look at is we have on May 5th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse. Now we just had the solar eclipse happen, and we have now the lunar eclipse happening, and that solar eclipse is on the north node, which is interesting that it's showing up here, but then we have it now going to be an eclipse, a lunar eclipse on the south node. Now there are a couple of things to say about this, and this might feel kind of intense. This could be a lot about releasing and letting go for a couple of reasons. So we have a south node eclipse. When we have a south node eclipse, it's about releasing, it's about letting go. It's also the bookend of the two eclipses. And so like I talked about in my last video, the eclipses can usher things in and it can move things out. And so this could be a time where you are having things release, or you are releasing them yourself, or they're being released for you by the universe, right? And then we also have it's a full moon, right? Full moons can be, as we know, peak emotional times where we feel energies or our emotions more amplified, right? And so I think we all know that. On top of that, you know, with it being in Scorpio, which is a water sign, right? Water emotions, but also the moon in Scorpio is not happy here. It is one of the most uncomfortable and hardest places for a moon to be placed. And so also Scorpios can deal with that like deep, it's like some deep, shadowy, dark stuff, like as well as like, you know, feelings that feel really intense, and like the releasing of that, the transforming of that transformational process, which can sometimes be uncomfortable, right? Depending on how we're able to like really let go with it or not. So just wanted to say this could be like ending a chapter of some kind. It can be an emotional letting go, or it can be like you being in the place of saying like, you know what, I've gotten everything I've needed from this experience or this connection or this project or this whatever it is. I feel complete and done with this. I'm releasing this. I'm letting it go, right? So it can be all of these different things. If you really want to get a sense of where this is happening in your chart primarily, you'll want to look at where what's happening in Scorpio in your chart, like what's up with Scorpio, like what house that's in, that'll tell you like which area of life. So anyway, so I just want to say that. And of course we have Mercury coming out of retrograde on the 14th of May, and it'll still be in its shadow for a little bit after that. So just like for at least a couple weeks-ish, something like that. So just know that after any retrograde, the planet is direct, but it's like the momentum, it starts to build, but it builds a little bit slowly. It's like a train, like you know, like that. So that all said, I just wanted to make sure that I gave you all of the info, and now we can get into your reading. So in order to really bring these readings into a more focused point, because it's a collective reading, I've been using this particular astrological deck, which I've really been enjoying, and other people seem to also, to know which themes or which area of life this is really speaking to. So I love it when we get a good house card, because it just tells us directly like it's in this area of life. However, when it's any of the aspects, or when it's a planet or anything like that, it's still giving us the theme of what's happening here, right? Now, a lot of people associate the North Node with where we are headed, where we are going towards, where we're meant to move towards in our life. Some people talk about this in a way that sounds very much like destiny. The other thing about like without going too much into what the North Node and South Node are, this can be a place of excess, of like having a voracious appetite with something, like really wanting a lot more and more and more of this particular experience. It can also be a place where we feel somewhat uncomfortable. So wherever your North Node is in your chart, it can be uncomfortable growth. So given what we have going on, what I just described with the astrology, I think it makes sense that you might be going through an experience that feels like, okay, you're moving towards, like moving forward in your life. And with that, there might be some feelings of discomfort. It might feel a little bit challenging, or like, oh, I don't want to go there, or like, oh, like that just seems so boring. I don't want to deepen into that lesson, you know, or that feels hard. I don't want to look at that or feel that, right? And so the North Node can like really be drawing our attention to that, but it can also be drawing our attention to where we are, where we experience excess, and like just kind of want to take in more and more and more and more, right? And sometimes, like, you know, we all know too much of something can turn it into not such a great thing. So these are the themes that we're dealing with, Gemini and Gemini rising. So we have the progression of the month is the 9 of Wands. We have the 6 of Coins. We have the 7 of Swords. Very interesting. And then for the challenge card, we have the 2 of Swords. And then we have your spiritual advice as the Star. I'm really loving that you have the Star, especially with all the other cards that are showing up. Definitely happy that you've got the Star. So let's just get into these one at a time. So first of all, we have the 9 of Wands. And I know that this particular deck doesn't really show the traditional like Rider-Waite based imagery. So, but I do love this deck, so I hope that you enjoy it as well. So this is the 9 of Wands. The 9 of Wands is like, whew, look, you are not done yet. Like this is not a time where you get to like rest yet. Like it's kind of like the weary, wounded warrior who's been through a bunch of battles, and it's like you got like another battle to fight. You're just like, I'm not quite done yet. It's another push. It's like it's time to keep going and to keep pushing. And in order to do that, you have to manage your health. You have to take care of your health. So this is definitely a card that has to do with your health. And I think it's for that reason, because it's like when we need to keep going in life, when things feel like they're challenging or they're just like stressful, or, you know, it's taking up a lot of our energy, maybe it feels draining, aging or whatever it is, like it's a period of life or time that feels that way, we need to be able to draw on our energy reserves. And if you don't have anything to draw from, you just end up being really depleted. That's when you end up being the weary, wounded warrior, as opposed to like the warrior that this Nine of Wands can be. The Nine of Wands can be a seasoned warrior who isn't a green warrior, right? Like they're not green on the field. They've had experience and they can utilize the wisdom that of all of the trials and tribulations that have gotten them to this point to take that into that next battle and to have the resolve to make it through. So I feel like that's definitely appropriate for what we have showing up in the beginning of the month. And definitely I feel like this feels connected, right? It can feel uncomfortable to keep pushing, to keep moving forward. And especially during like Mercury retrograde, which we will still be in the beginning third of this month, the Mercury retrograde is a time to slow down. It's a time to revisit and revise and to maybe be more methodical about the details and about checking the details about in moving forward, right? Mercury retrograde doesn't mean don't move forward. It's like, yeah, if you can put off signing a contract, I would definitely do that if you're able to. And at the same time, if there are things that you're not able to do that with, then really make sure that you're being meticulous about the details and checking into everything, right? So that you can move forward, and that movement forward might feel like a battle because things are so slowed down. And that's my kitty, if you guys heard her. She likes to come in and make her presence known sometimes. So then we come into the middle of the month and we have the Six of Coins, right? So Six of Coins, let me get that a little bit closer for you guys. Sorry. There you go. So Six of Coins, and this has definitely a lot to do with that give and take energy, with reciprocation and with really looking at whether it feels fair, whether there's a fair exchange happening with where you're putting your time, energy, and attention into. So whether that be a project or whether that be a connection or whether that be whatever it might be, this is really about looking at like, am I giving away more than I really have the reserves for? Am I taking care of myself? Am I depleting myself in order to like people please or to overgive? Do I feel like I'm maybe being taken advantage of in this particular situation? Or am I taking too much? Am I requesting too much? Am I taking on like more than is my fair share, right? And this is a place where you look at what feels judicious, what feels like, where can you find equanimity in this connection or with this project or whatever it is, to make sure that the exchange feels like it's beneficial for all, right? For all parties involved. And then we come into the last part of this month, right? And this is already like we've moved out of Mercury retrograde, and now we are here at the end of the month where things are starting to already speed up. Sorry, you guys, if you can hear that banging, it's the wind is really picking up with the storm outside, so it's kind of knocking things around outside. So we come into this period where it's like, okay, great, Mercury is direct, but it's still going a little bit slow. So just know that's part of the energy. But what we have here is the Seven of Swords. Now, I know that the Seven of Swords can be like one of those cards where people go, oh no, it's the shady shyster card. It's the card of deceit and like thievery and lies and deception and all these things. And yes, it can be, and that doesn't mean that you're doomed to experience this. I feel like this is in line with really just, I think this is about your personal integrity with yourself, making sure that you're staying true to yourself and you're not lying to yourself about not only what feels in alignment, what feels reciprocated, what feels like equal and judicious when it comes to like the give and take of like these connections or this project or whatever it is, money, even it can have to do with finances for sure in your life, but make sure that you're not lying to yourself about what's actually like what's possible for you to take on, and like especially what is possible for you to take on here, like in your exchange, but also staying true to yourself in like what you're moving towards, what you're moving forward with. If anything, I would say, yes, is there a possibility that there is someone in your experience who is not being maybe forthcoming And that might have to do with this particular middle card here with the 6 of coins. Yes, it is quite possible. Maybe you're gearing up for kind of like, that's the battle that you're gearing up for in this particular scenario. I like to give a few different options. Like, I'm feeling definitely the very like Gemini mercurial energy in this reading right now, where I'm just kind of feeling like, oh, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that. So I'm just seeing a bunch of different possibilities. So I'm mentioning the one, I don't always mention all the different possibilities, but I feel like I'm mentioning more possibilities here in this particular one, you know. And remember to relate this back to like this period of growth and what you're moving forward and towards in your life, right? Like how this is perhaps a place where you need to, like, again, I talked about the voracious appetite or the desire to like have more and more and more, and relate this back to the 6 of coins, right? Are you taking more and more and more, right? Are you needing to balance that out? And that can be with a lot of different things. So definitely apply it to like what feels like it makes the most sense. Again, if you really want to get like granular, specific, I would book a personal reading, and that you can find in the description down below. So the challenge card that we have showing up here is the 2 of Swords. And with the 2 of Swords, you know, it's interesting in a challenge position, because I think that it's like moving into a place of confusion, feeling cut off from your intuitive aspects, you know. Even though it's a Swords card, and this can have to do with like our thoughts, our beliefs, our communication, and how we stay true to ourselves in those ways, it also has to do, like this particular card has to do with stepping into our gut, our intuition. And there's my kitty saying exactly yes. So this has to do with those themes, right? And I think that there is this feeling of being either cut off or not tapping into your intuitive self, your intuitive senses, and maybe feeling like you're flying blind here, and that can feel like a challenge, especially when you're trying to weigh out this, like normally you would see like a scales on this particular card when you're trying to weigh out like exactly what to do and how to move forward. And it may feel a little bit confusing. It may feel like the options feel overwhelming or like you're unclear. And so with that, we have the Star card showing up. And the Star card is really, you know, it's definitely about healing. And I feel that it's connecting back with the themes that I was talking about right here with the 9 of Wands, right? So it's definitely about healing. It's definitely about like this clean new beginning and really starting fresh. It's this kind of clean, clear clarity. It's kind of like after a storm. It's so funny because it's stormy outside right now, but it's like after a storm when it clears and the air is fresh and clean and everything feels like washed and brand new. And that's kind of like the energy of this particular card, right? And so I would say that, you know, the guidance here is to really clear things out, you know, allow things to be cleared out that need to be cleared out during this particular phase that we're in, right? Especially because of that full moon eclipse, right? Letting things go. The Star comes after the Tower card. So after, you know, the Tower card, everyone's always afraid of the Tower card, right? Nobody really likes to see it there, but it's like this complete disintegration of what was, of the form that it was in, was not going to be able to withstand the test of time. It wasn't built on a foundation that was strong enough to really make it through, and it was needing to be completely decimated and leveled to the ground to start from square one all over again, to start from this clean and clear place. So I feel like this is definitely allowing the things to like let go, and allow the things that need to be let go of. Like, know when is the time to like fight and to be the warrior, take the wisdom of the warrior, and know when it's time to actually like sit back and examine things, right? Definitely stepping more into this space of like clean, clear energy and stepping into your intuition. So I think that when we allow ourselves to go through the experience of that kind of tower moment and to experience this release of something in our lives, as uncomfortable as that is, because I'm not, you know, I can talk about it from this perspective because I'm not experiencing it, but I can tell you when I'm in it too. And it's hard to like release and relinquish things that especially not ready to, it's sudden, whatever it is. However, if you end up like, it's kind of like when you stub your toe, if you go into the pain, right, it dissolves much more quickly and you're able to move to the other side of it. And so in the same kind of way, whatever is being like released, whatever is calling you to release it during this period of time, see what happens if you can just like go into it and flow with it, so that you can come into this clean and clear space. Think of it like a clearing, like a big clearing, like a big meadow in the forest that you come upon, you know, big sky, clear field, right? Big opening. And so that spaciousness, that clarity, that clean and clear energy, that healing, and being able to move forward from that place. So I think that you're going to like the, you know, I was going to say spirit guides, but like whoever you believe in, like universe, whatever, like I feel like the message coming through is like, hey, just know that after all of this, there is a clearing, and you get to come to the other side of it with not only more clarity, but with cleaner energy, and probably more energy reserves, and yeah, that kind of clean. It's like, it's very clean. I keep wanting to say the same words because I'm like, I don't know how else to describe it in this moment. So I hope that this feels helpful. Definitely, I would say, to get a full picture, go check out the solar eclipse reading, and I'll probably have that up on the screen so that you can go check out your solar eclipse reading, because I think that can give you the full picture of like, you know, this is including the eclipse season in it, right, with this reading. So, and just know that I'll be doing a reading for I'll be filming videos for the May 5th full moon lunar eclipse to the new moon. Like, it'll be for that period of time. So those will come out just a few days after this. So make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss those videos. And also for the ones that I have on the horizon. Also, it just really helps the channel out as I'm getting this going. So really appreciate your guys' support. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for being here. Bye.